Right now, there's this palpable fear rippling through the tech industry. It's the fear of autonomous AI just going rogue in a live production environment. I mean, everybody wants the efficiency of AI, right? But nobody wants to just hand over the keys to the kingdom without knowing exactly what the machine is actually going to do. So today, we're going to break down the technical blueprint to solve this exact problem. Welcome to This Explainer. Let's unpack the architecture of trust.
Here is what we're looking at today. First, the red button and AI. Then we'll get into the content OS, earned autonomy, security from the core, flexible architecture, and we'll wrap it all up with the future of humans.
All right, Section 1, the red button and AI.
So, to really understand where content infrastructure is heading, we have to look at the current tension. There's a recent IBC 2025 Insights report that hit the nail on the head. It noted, and I quote here, "At its simplest, the defining feature of agentic AI is autonomy. It presses the big red button itself." That one sentence captures the whole situation perfectly, doesn't it? Because unlike a simple co-pilot that just drafts an email and waits for you to click send, an autonomous agent makes its own decisions to hit a goal. It pushes the button. And that level of autonomy, that is exactly what terrifies enterprise customers. They demand strict governance, full auditability, and absolute zero room for catastrophic errors. Which leaves us with the ultimate bottleneck right now. How do we safely trust an AI with that red button in an enterprise production environment? Honestly, if we can't answer this, we just can't scale AI. And answering it requires a complete evolution in how we manage content and data.
Moving on to Section 2, the content OS.
We are basically witnessing a massive paradigm shift here. We're moving away from traditional digital warehouses and moving toward active operating systems. Let's look at Lumabase as our prime case study for this. For years, the industry standard was the headless CMS. But a headless CMS is essentially just passive storage. It's a warehouse where a human manually operates it, step by step, literally clicking every single button to publish a page or update a tag. A content OS is completely different. It's an active environment. It's machine-operated via declarative intents and service-level objectives, or SLOs. You're no longer telling it how to do something step by step. You're just telling it what the final state should be. In this new model, humans are the ones setting the taste, the accountability, and those overarching intents. The machine handles the execution. The heavy lifting is done by governed agents that are continuously reconciling the current state of your content with your desired intent. And what makes this actually safe is full provenance tracking. That means every single change is logged and can be traced back to either a human or a specific agent action. It completely transforms the CMS from a manual tool into a self-operating yet strictly controlled system.
Which brings us to Section 3, earned autonomy.
Because here's the real secret to all of this. AI should never, ever get full administrative power on day one. It absolutely has to earn it. The industry is rapidly moving away from simple chatbots toward fully orchestrated AI companions. But bridging that massive gap between a co-pilot that just suggests things and a fully autonomous agent that actually executes them, that requires building trust incrementally. You can't just flip a switch. You really have to climb a ladder of trust. We call this ladder the earned autonomy progression, and it moves from level 0 up to level 4. It starts with a human in the loop. The agent drafts the work, sure, but a human explicitly approves every single action. Then, once the agent proves it's reliable, you upgrade it to a veto window. Now the agent says, hey, I'm going to publish this in 10 minutes unless you stop me. And finally, when trust is absolute, it graduates to full autopilot. Because systems like Lumibase have that full provenance tracking we just talked about, teams can safely scale an AI up this ladder, knowing they can always audit or reverse any decision. It's the perfect balance of automation and risk control. There's also this fascinating psychological UX trick used to reinforce that trust, called the labor illusion. Think about it. When an agent is working, if a user just sits there staring at a blank loading spinner, they get anxious. Is the AI broken? Is it deleting my data? But if you replace that spinner with a live, scrolling terminal log, showing the agent's real-time reasoning and tasks, like running migrations or warming caches, it builds immense user trust. You're literally showing the system's work.
Let's look at Section 4, security from the core.
To actually let agents operate with this kind of autonomy, you need a hardcore engineering foundation. You have to address the deepest nightmares of enterprise CTOs. One of the biggest fears is a vulnerability called SSRF, or server-side request forgery. It's basically the server robbing itself. Think of your server as a trusted company courier. Usually you give the courier an external address, he drives there, gets a package, comes back. But in an SSRF attack, a hacker tricks the courier by giving him an address that points inside your own building, right to the vault where the cloud metadata credentials are. The courier, just trying to be helpful, walks in, grabs the keys, and hands them straight to the attacker. So, how do you structurally prevent this? Lumibase handles it with some pretty intense lockdowns. First off, centralized fetch guards intercept every single outbound request an agent makes. It resolves the IP and actively denies access to internal or private networks. It always fails closed. Second, to stop attackers from sneaking unauthorized data into the database, which is known as mass assignment, the system uses strict ZOD parsing and typed data transfer objects. It completely strips away any unauthorized fields before they ever get near the database layer. Security isn't just an afterthought here. It is baked right into the pipes the agents travel through.
All right, Section 5, Flexible Architecture. Now, even if an AI native system is secure, it also has to scale globally without trapping you in vendor lock-in. And this is a massive engineering achievement. Edge native plus dual deployment. A true content OS shouldn't care where it lives. The architecture here allows the exact same business logic to run either on Cloudflare workers, which gives you a ridiculously scalable global serverless edge, or within self-hosted Docker containers if you need strict enterprise data sovereignty. Because the runtime is abstracted using adapters between Cloudflare and Docker, developers can switch deployment environments seamlessly. You don't have to rewrite a single line of business logic. To add to that, true scalability requires the system to be multi-tenant by default. We're talking every database query strictly scoped to a specific tenant ID right at the core, combined with edge-first caching. And to manage all this complexity at scale, everything is treated as config as code. Configurations are declarative, they're version-controlled, and easily reproducible. It just makes enterprise-grade rollouts completely predictable. Finally, Section 6, the future of humans. We've done a pretty deep technical dive here, but let's bring it back to the human element. What does the modern workforce actually look like in this environment? That IBC report highlighted something really profound. It said there will need to be a transition away from deterministic workflows to more adaptive approaches that allow for AI decision-making. Our roles are fundamentally shifting. We aren't going to be manual button pushers executing step-by-step tasks anymore. We're evolving into strategic overseers. We set the guidelines, we manage the veto windows, and we steer the ship. So I want to leave you with a provocative thought as we wrap up this explainer. As this technology scales in an intent-driven, AI-governed world, what if you were no longer the one making the content, but the one directing an entire self-operating system? The future isn't about replacing humans. It's about elevating us from operators to orchestrators. Definitely take a moment to think about what that means for your own workflow. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll catch you on the next one.